Hi guys, it's the Korean consultant here, and I just left my six-figure dream consulting job at MBB. And in this video, I'm going to be revealing everything, like properly opening up about the things I haven't shared publicly before, like my career journey, why I left consulting, and where I'm headed next. We'll cover the following in this video, right? So firstly, we'll start off with my entire career journey from my university days all the way to my first job where I just earned £21,000. Like, can you believe it? So let's get into it. So for my education, I was born in Seoul, South Korea and raised in a public school. I'm just kidding. Let's skip straight to university days. So I attended LSE where I did my bachelor's and master's in management. I mean, if you've been to LSE or you know the vibe, you'll get this when I say that. It's like an epicenter of career ambition. Like you'll meet a fresher in week one and be like, hey, what are you doing? And they'll be panicking about spring weeks, getting in, not getting in. I mean, that was simply the culture at LSE, right? So just like every other fresher out there, I followed the path and I started applying for loads of investment banking spring weeks. And then quickly realized that I'm probably not cut enough for that toxic finance bro-esque environment. And hey, no offense to my investment banking friends out there, I respect you guys, but it just wasn't for me. And then I ended up doing this like super random coffee chat with a Korean consultant. Anyways, huge shout out to that guy because he sold the consulting dream fast to me. I remember that he was like mentioning both the pros and cons of consulting, and fine, like I absorbed all of that. But to me, to the 19-year-old me, what really stuck to my head was the shiny stuff, right? So the meal allowances, the fancy dinners, the five-star hotels, the business class flights, and the crazy summer winter parties. I mean, I was thinking to myself, like, this is literally the upper class lifestyle that I have been dreaming about for a long time, and I need to get into consulting. So then I started to apply to consulting, and obviously in interviews I said, oh, I'm attracted to consulting because of the opportunity to work on different projects, different industries, but actually it was more the superficial things. And then, so yeah, I mean, I started to look for any consulting internships, but during undergrad, actually, I couldn't get any internships in the UK. So I did 3 internships in Korea, all at boutique consulting firms, and I'll be honest, I didn't learn that much. And in one of those places, I was verbally and physically assaulted by a partner multiple times. But that experience made me promise myself that I will never work in Korea ever again. And obviously because I didn't learn much during those internships, I couldn't land the grad role after my undergrad, so I had to do a master's, which I don't know why I did it at LSE and why I did it again at management, but whatever, it got me a job in the end. During my master's, I landed a part-time internship at a company called Funding Exchange, where later I found out that the CEO was an ex-Bain director. And I swear I genuinely didn't know before joining, like I swear. But working at Funding Exchange was probably one of the most critical moments of my career, and for my CV actually, because working closely, and I don't know if you guys have worked with a consultant before, because working closely with an ex-consultant really taught me how to think like a consultant, how to behave like one, how to speak like one, and especially like how they frame problems. I think that was quite important for me to understand. And eventually, like that experience is what led me to get a job as a graduate intern at STL Partners, which was my next stop in my career. So STL Partners was my first real exposure, I would say, to consulting in a proper structured way, given my 3 internships were kind of like meh, right? I mean, looking back, STL was great. I mean, I loved the small team vibe, the super tight-knit environment, and I learned a lot there, from like expert interviews to my first client CEO interaction, which was, I was so nervous when I went in. I was like sweating all over. But like eventually and culturally, I felt like I didn't quite fit in, probably because like, you know, I was more of a city boy. So whilst I was there, I was applying to other consulting firms as well, and then eventually got an offer from EY Parthenon, which is like a small umbrella strategy firm within the broader EY. And I remember like receiving offer from EY Parthenon like so vividly. It was like 12:50, 8 p.m. on a Friday. I remember the exact time because like the partner said that they would get back to me by 1 p.m. So I was like literally just looking at my phone, waiting for that message to come through or the call to come through. And at 12:50, 8 p.m., a call comes through from a random number because like I don't know what the partner's number is. And he says, you know, you got an offer. And I'm just like, I remember just being like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. I didn't cry, like, disclaimer, I didn't cry. But I just remember being like, I collapsed downwards and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Because like, I shit you not, I literally had like 2 or 3 weeks until my visa expired before I started my role at Parthenon. So I was really desperate. Like I failed 7 final round interviews and Parthenon was like just like the light of my tunnel that I really, really was looking forward to. So then, yeah, I started at Parthenon. It was actually just a cohort of 4 people, like 1 senior associate and then 3 associates, including me. I remember like when we joined, we had like this whole thing about, oh, hey, everyone, every new joiner from around the world is gonna gather in Canary Wharf and we're gonna have like a massive star class vibe. But then like COVID hit, and then that meant that we were just kind of stuck, the 4 of us. And we did get close, but I kind of missed out on that whole large start class vibe because everything just kind of went remote, right? And I missed that kind of culture that you normally get in a big consulting firm. The office banter, the in-person learning. And actually, like, because of COVID, I don't know if you guys remember, a lot of the projects were like on hold, etc. So for about 4 months, I was mostly doing like business development work, which I think obviously hindered my learning and development in my critical moments of my career. And looking back at my time at Parthenon, I feel like I quite liked the people. Obviously, a few questionable people, but that exists everywhere, right? It's not just within a single firm. But I feel like being online for the majority of the time really made me feel a bit disconnected, which like is not their fault. I think it's just the circumstances. And also, like some of you may know that Parthenon is very famous and very well known for their education sector. So a lot of the projects I did was like in the education sector, which I'm a huge fan of, by the way. Like I love mentoring and I love the whole edtech space. But I joined consulting because I wanted to try out something broader, right? Yes, the fancy stuff too, but I wanted something a bit more fast-paced and a bit more broader and honestly, like it was like such a lucky moment for me because the economy was doing well, and B, basically the private equity teams within MBB were growing super fast. And because I had lots of opportunities and experience in doing DDs at Parthenon, that basically allowed me to, demonstrate my skill sets, which then, basically opened up all these opportunities for me. So anyways, I got the offer and I moved on January 22. And I remember it was like a big move for me and everyone around me, including my parents, because they were saying like, oh, I finally made it. And honestly, like it felt like I had the whole world to me because like getting into a top tier consulting firm, obviously, especially after meeting that original Korean consultant when I was 19, was my dream actually for a very long time, right? And I also kind of vividly remember the first time I met my large cohort of like, I think it was about 20, 25 of us for a drink at a pub called Mr. Fogg's near the office, not knowing how close we'd become as friends over the years. So yeah, that's how I joined. And as I mentioned before, I joined the sort of, I guess like the PE practice, I should say, ended up doing around 20 plus projects across like a variety of industries like TMT, entertainment, FS, etc. over the last 3 years. And more recently, I did like a 8-month-long project, which I'd love to talk about more, but I can't. But it was like probably my favorite case to date. Now, obviously over the last 3.5 years, there's been huge ups and downs, and I'm not gonna cover all of that in the video, but I mean, if you guys are interested, I'd love to make a video on some funny moments, some embarrassing moments, and also some absolutely batshit crazy stories that I've witnessed and experienced as well. All right, anyways, let's get into the real reason why you're watching this. Why did I leave consulting, the prestigious dream role that I've always wanted? Well, when I joined consulting, and let's talk about why I joined consulting, it is a great place to start your career, right? And you get to know various industries, businesses, and project types. You work with the smartest and the hardest working people. That's all fine, that's amazing. And there's obviously the glamorous upside to that too. And like, to be honest, like a lot of the people that quit consulting or banking, they do so because they're kind of burnt out, right? Like, I'd say like I had times like that too, working 60, 70-hour weeks, project after project. And honestly, like my mental and physical health was not in the right state at some times, but I mean, that's the state of the industry itself, not specific to a single firm. So that was not the fundamental reason behind what I left. The truth is, I think consulting for me, it was never fulfilling for me. I mean, I had to admit that to myself. I quit consulting because like I came to a realization that I am someone who loves owning my own time, planning my day, and like chasing a million different interests. Like, guys, I have so many things I want to do, right, in life. I want to learn how to sing and, perform on the streets, do some busking. I want to play in a volleyball league with friends, which were kind of starting out. And then I want to travel the world, obviously go backpacking. I want to continue doing my content as well and improve on it. I also do want to start my own business in education sector, ironically, and continue sort of mentoring students, right? I mean, these are the things that give me energy, and I knew that consulting will never be able to provide me that. So that's why I fundamentally left. And I actually watched Taylor Bell's video, right? The famous BCG consultant who left consulting as well, I think last year or 2 years ago, on why she quit consulting. And I truly resonated with one of the reasons she said, which was that I am an entrepreneur and I'll only truly be motivated if it's something of my own. Of course, there were some other reasons too, right? I mean, such as like lack of results as well, like where you do all the work, but then the deck gets shelved and you don't see the outcome. This is like a huge L for me, I would say, because I am a very results-driven person, and like I'm motivated by results, and obviously not being able to see that in consulting because it is an advisory business. Also, like the intense work culture as well. Some people mentioned that competitive environment as well. You're constantly surrounded by overachievers, right? And as you rise up the ladder, the pressure multiplies. And I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. Like I love the people at my firm. They're genuinely some of the kindest, coolest colleagues I've ever had, and I'll probably ever have, like, and I'm going to miss them so much. But that being said, like the pressure does still exist, and it multiplies as you go through the ladder. And yeah, I mean, for me, I think I wanted a bit more work-life balance on top of that. So yeah, like I never really once thought that I would want to live the lifestyle of a consultant forever. And that already meant that consulting actually wasn't for me, right? And honestly, it took me such a long, long time to get the courage to finally quit, because I've always lived under the, I guess, like the umbrella of like, being the consultant, being the Korean consultant, fine. But over time, you realize like you just kind of borrow the title and the brand of the company you work for, right? And, you just got to find yourself a bit more. So yeah, that comes to my last part of this video, which is what's next for me. I'd say firstly, I'll be doubling down on my content journey. I've been fortunate enough that I've grown such an amazing community on TikTok and Instagram, so I'll continue to post more content, especially like to help students and young professionals figure out their career. I might also start doing a bit more live streams as well, because I feel like I've got a lot of energy and sort of goofiness that I'd love to showcase a bit more, but I've always been this kind of like, corporate image, which I kind of want to break out a bit more of. And yeah, I can, probably be a bit more direct and honest about my experiences now. So yeah, definitely like, want to do that a bit more. I'm also trying to write 2 books at the same time. One will be more of like a mini guide into breaking into consulting, which I'm sure will be very helpful to a lot of students out there. And the other will be more like a, I hope it's more like a Gary Stevenson style book where I deep dive into like my honest reflection of my consulting journey. So stay tuned for those as well. If I ever get to publish them, I'm trying to still find a publisher, but we'll see how it goes. In terms of where I'll be, I'm going to be back in Korea to be with my family. And then potentially might do some travel in Asia before returning to London. My schedule is still kind of TBD, but I'll keep you all updated on Instagram. So if you're in Asia, if you're in Korea and you want to meet up, do some content, talk about life, I'm very happy to do that. So reach out whenever. And then, yeah, I mean, after that, I'll go back to work, mostly because I have a mortgage to pay. I don't know if you guys see my news article, and also the cats to feed as well. So, and yeah, more exciting news to come on that front, but it's perhaps for another video. And then lastly, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to my best friend, Ali, who runs Casebuddy. He's also recently quit consulting as well to pursue his own software business. It's already generating a lot more value and financial reward than consulting. I'm very proud of it. And I'm also super glad that I'll be joining Casebuddy as a mentor. So book in some time with me via the link below. It's, it's some free coaching slots I have available. So make sure you book them in before they run out. I'll leave them in the comment section below. Yeah, guys, like if you've made it this far, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Now that I'm free, obviously feel free to leave any questions in the comment section. I'll be answering as many as I can, if possible. And obviously stay tuned for more of my videos on TikTok and Instagram. I'll also try to do a bit more videos on YouTube, but it's hard because I just have an iPhone and this is actually being filmed on iPhone. But yeah, I mean, just want to say this has been a very long ride coming, and I am extremely grateful for everyone who's supported me along the way. You know who you are, so thank you so much, guys. And that's it, guys. Well, here's to finding yourself beyond the job title, obviously, and I'll see you in the next video.